The U.S. Navy has now joined international search and rescue teams in the hunt for wreckage of the missing Malaysia Airlines passenger jet. But ships have recovered nothing. Experts say the Boeing 777 has an excellent safety record, and they found no problems with the plane when it was inspected just about 10 days before the crash. Still, they lost contact with ground controllers somewhere between Malaysia and Vietnam, with 239 people on board. And among the missing passengers is American Philip Wood. His family says their faith in Christ is what's holding them together.
It's devastating. But I know in my heart that Philip's with God. And I plan to be there with him because I have a deep faith in my God.
The flight was headed from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, and Malaysian authorities say radar suggests it may have been turning around before it vanished. But there was no Mayday call.
That is a really, really safe place to be, which makes this mystery all that much deeper.
And officials are investigating the possibility of terrorism. Malaysian authorities have reportedly identified one of the two passengers who boarded the jet with a stolen passport. They haven't named the passenger but say it was someone from outside Malaysia. The identification came as officials have been scouring surveillance footage for those two passengers. The FBI and U.S. intelligence agencies also want to see that video, hoping for clues to solve what so far has been a great mystery. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Well, our CBN News terrorism analyst Eric Stackelbeck is with us. Eric, what is it about Malaysia? I've never thought of that as a breeding ground for terrorism, or is it?
Yeah, Pat, I wouldn't call it a breeding ground, but remember, this is a Muslim-majority country, and any potential terrorist, Pat, could find a support network on the ground there. A few things to know about Malaysia. Number one, some of the 9/11 hijackers, Pat, passed through that country. That's the main thing to know about Malaysia. Also, back in the mid-90s, Pat, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who was the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks, he put together a nasty, nasty plot planning to hijack 11 transatlantic airliners out of Southeast Asia, around where Malaysia is located. Also, Pat, another wrinkle here in that region, China. In Western China, there is a separatist movement right now, Pat, a group called the Uyghurs. They are a Muslim group in Western China. They want to break away from China, form their own Islamic state. We've seen them carry out several attacks over the past few months. Even last week, Pat, 27 people were killed in China after an attack from these Uyghurs. This plane was going from Malaysia to China. Now, were the Uyghurs involved? We don't know. We don't even know if it was terrorism, but definitely a lot of questions mark here and a lot of smoke here, too.
Eric, usually if something goes down the middle of a flight, you see some explosion. It would show up on a radar screen. They apparently didn't have any explosion. It just vanished.
Yeah, Pat, just sudden, you know, and you think about it, okay, if there was a bomb to go off on the plane, if a bomb rips through a plane, Pat, at that high altitude, 35,000 feet, the plane's going to break in pieces. It's going to be sudden and dramatic. And when we talk about the possibility of terrorism here, Pat, look at the past few months, even the past few weeks. We've had several warnings from the Department of Homeland Security to look for, number one, toothpaste tube bombers aboard planes. Number two, shoe bombers, once again, aboard planes. Did we see something here, Pat? You know, you think about Southeast Asia, some of these airports, maybe the airline security isn't as tight as it is here in the West. Maybe Al-Qaeda is probing. Maybe they're conducting dry runs. Maybe they're saying, hey, we have a new strategy, a new technique. Let's try it out in Southeast Asia and then bring it here to the West. I hope not, but that is a possibility.
Clarify for us that missing passport scenario. Somebody didn't have a passport, or they left a passport, or they boarded without a passport. What was the story on that?
Two people, Pat, apparently boarded this flight bound from Malaysia to China with stolen passports. Now, one of the passports was from an Austrian citizen, one from an Italian citizen. We don't know who these guys were who used these stolen passports, Pat. Apparently, Malaysian authorities have identified one of them. They were not Malaysian, apparently, which is a red flag. And anytime you have stolen passports, Pat, look, it's a red flag. Now, you could use stolen passports if you're a drug mule, if you're involved in drug running, other kinds of illegal activity. But many times, terrorists have used stolen passports to get through security and get on airplanes. And you know, Pat, with this threat to airplanes, to the aviation system, it's not going to stop. This is the holy grail for Islamic terrorists. You can cause so much carnage through airplanes, Pat, whether it's economic, hurting the airline industry, psychological, and physical. Think of 9/11, what a few planes did, Pat, killed over 3,000 people. So these terrorists will continue to try to hijack planes. That is their holy grail at the end of the day.
Eric, thank you very much. Eric Stakelbeck, ladies and gentlemen.